Hi, this is Ed from Exotic Blanks, once again introducing another new video. This one is to show you how to make the closed end Atrax, and we're using the Serpentine blank that comes to us from Terry. This is going to be fairly simple because the steps in a closed end pen are pretty much dictated by what you're trying to make. So first thing you're going to do is take a 7mm drill bit and drill a hole into your blank that is 2.7 inches deep. It's kind of important to keep it at 2.7 inches because you're not going to have a lot of slop in how you put the refill in and so forth. What we're doing is a rollerball, so there are some dimensions that do have to be kept constant. They have to be right. So you'll see I'm just drilling a hole. That's not real exciting, but that's what we're doing here, drilling a hole in until it gets to 2.7 inches deep. There is a mark on my drill bit, and I will stop when I'm at the appropriate depth. Next, we want to square off the end of the blank. Essentially, all we're going to do is take a parting tool and go in at a 90-degree angle to the turning piece so that the face is square, so that all of our dimensions end up to be correct from that point forward. This isn't very difficult. It only takes a couple of seconds. Then the next thing is to drill your 10.5mm hole. You mark the depth of the tube, of the brass tube, on your bit, and you go just a little bit beyond that so that you've got a little extra room in case you want to do anything different. But drill that then so that it's the depth of your brass tube, because the brass tube is going to be inserted in that end. That will not be as deep as the first hole you drilled. The first hole is going to accommodate the spring and the rollerball, so you obviously want it to be behind the section that's going to be the brass tube or the normal body of the rollerball. So that's all there is to it. We're just drilling it into the right depth, and then we move on from there to the next phase of the project. Let's take a second to look at what we're trying to do overall. This is going to be mounted on an adjustable mandrel. You're going to push the adjustable mandrel all the way up into the 7mm hole, the top, which of course does not go all the way through the blank. Then you're going to want to put the nib bushing, the normal nib bushing, on the other end. And you're going to have a spacer inside the brass tube that holds it in place as you're turning. So the next thing we're going to do is create that spacer. Obviously, it's just a matter of turning it down to the right diameter. The right diameter in this case is 0.385 inches, which is just a little larger than 3/8 of an inch. So if you're looking for a reference tool, you could take an open-end wrench that's 3/8 of an inch, and don't go that far. But basically all you're trying to do is make something that will insert inside that tube. So what I've done is started out with a 7mm tube, just like you would use for a slimline blank, and we have glued on a piece of acrylic so that it does not it has more dimensional stability. It won't shrink like wood would. So I've taken this piece of acrylic and I am now going to turn it for its outside diameter to fit inside the inside diameter of your tube that will be the body for your Atrax pen. So essentially that outside is going to be about 3/8. I set my calipers for 3/8, and then I make sure that the piece will fit inside there. Then the final test, of course, is to just take a brass tube and try it until it fits in there just nicely. And once it fits nicely, we're ready to continue the rest of the process. So now on to making the actual pen. First of all, of course, you've glued the brass tube of the body into your body of the pen. The Serpentine blank, you have put the brass tube in so that it's flush with the open end. You don't want to leave a lot of room extra in there. What we're going to do is turn this to about a 3-inch overall dimension. That means that it will end just about at the end of the serpentine pattern where the two of the lines cross. So it's going to turn out to be a nice looking pen when we're finished. We are putting the normal bushing on the end of this so that you can tell what your dimension should be for the end, which will be the nib end. You're using the larger of the bushings that fits into the body of the Atrax. That would be the one that is on the right-hand side. The spacer that we've built is inside the blank. Actually, I cut it down slightly because it was a little too long to fit inside the blank. So it has been trimmed down, so it's probably an inch shorter than when we turned it. But it fits in the blank fine, and now it's just a matter of turning the serpentine blank to make it into a closed-end pen. As I say, my preference is to go to just about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch from the end and make a mark there, and that's going to be the end of the pen. Then I just turn it to the appropriate diameter, make it the way that I like it to look, and be aware of the fact that that mark that I made with my parting tool is going to be the end of the pen. So it's very simple. We'll do the turning rather rapidly. I'll turn the speed up, and then you'll see that the turning of this is quite simple. It stays intact. It stays where you want it to because of that spacer you made. So that is important, and having the mandrel all the way through to the end of that hole is important. You're supporting it all over throughout the length of the blank. Then of course your 60-degree live center is going to stay in the part that you will turn off, so the little dimple that leaves is immaterial because that piece of wood is going to be taken off at the end. So as you watch the end of the turning, I'd like to make a couple of comments about the serpentine blanks. They are made up of 4 pieces of veneer that are glued into the blank. Generally, if you're working with segmented blanks like that, you want to be a little bit careful, but I was very amazed at how well these are made. All the stuff that you see me doing, all the turning, I did not stop in between to reinforce the blank with CA or any of the things that I normally would do, because when I stopped and looked at it, the blank looked like it was holding up absolutely perfectly. It turns like one piece of wood. It does not turn like something that's been segmented, generally speaking. And as you can see, the segmented lines are what I would call random ropes. They're cool, and it will make a pen that really looks neat. I coupled it with a simple walnut cap and made something that I think would be fairly easy to sell, and it's a fairly light pen because it doesn't have the finial pieces on it. So there are some advantages to doing this closed-end approach. And also the question was asked of me, how do you finish a pen like this so that the ropes look like they're where they belong, I guess. It doesn't look like it ends abruptly. I looked for a spot that the pattern crossed, and that's what I'm doing at the end here. I'm going to where a pattern crosses, so the 2 lines kind of came together at the end of the pen, and it did look natural. It looked pretty cool when it was finished. So it's not difficult, and from here it's just a matter of sanding and buffing and doing all the things that you normally would do to make the pen look good. As you can see, it turned out quite well. Got a picture of it at the end here. And once again, this is Ed from Exotic Blanks. I thank you for watching, and I hope you'll try these serpentine blanks. Terry puts a lot of time and effort into them, and they are extremely well made. So give it a shot. I think you'll be happy with your results. Bye now.